On a freezing winter morning, outside St. Mary's Hospital, a 13-year-old boy sat alone with nothing but a duct-taped pair of boots and a battered notebook. No parents, no home, and yet, when a grieving father walked past with his paralyzed daughter, the boy looked up and said, "I can make her walk again." What happened next would not only defy medical expectations, it would change an entire town. It was one of those mornings that made you question why you ever left the warmth of a bed. Mapleford, Ohio was frozen in that strange kind of cold, sharp enough to bite at fingertips, but without the mercy of snow to make it beautiful. Outside St. Mary's Children's Hospital, people hurried past like ants, faces buried in scarves, hands wrapped around paper cups of coffee. Some moved fast to reach loved ones. Others moved fast to escape bad news. And then, there was the boy. He wasn't moving at all. Just a small figure sitting on a flattened cardboard box near the sliding hospital doors, head bent over a battered notebook. His coat was 2 sizes too big, a red beanie pulled low over his ears, and one boot patched with silver duct tape. His pencil moved quickly across the page, scratching shapes into life. His name was Caleb Rivers, 9 years old, and unlike the others, he wasn't here to see anyone, nor was he here to beg. He just sat, quietly, day after day. At first, hospital staff had told him to move along, polite but firm. But Caleb caused no trouble, and after a while, they stopped asking. Some assumed he was waiting for a parent inside. Others simply didn't notice him anymore. But that morning, someone new arrived. Across the street, a black SUV rolled to a stop. Inside sat Daniel Harper, a man in his late 40s with a face lined by exhaustion. His suit was rumpled, tie hanging loose around his neck. In the back seat, wrapped in a pink blanket, was his 6-year-old daughter Maya. 6 months earlier, a car accident had taken away her ability to walk. Since then, her world had been measured in wheelchairs, doctor visits, and quiet silences. She had barely spoken since the accident. Daniel got out, lifted Maya gently from the car, and carried her toward the hospital doors. His eyes were locked straight ahead. He didn't notice the boy at all, but Caleb noticed them. Without hesitation, the boy stood up and called out, "I can make your daughter walk again." Daniel froze, not because he believed it. Of course he didn't. But because the boy's voice carried something unusual. It wasn't desperate. It wasn't begging. It was steady, certain. Caleb repeated himself, word for word. "I can make your daughter walk again." Daniel, frowning, adjusted his grip on Maya and walked past him into the hospital. Inside, the familiar rituals unfolded. The slow paperwork, the medical jargon, the doctors who spoke in careful, measured tones. They managed expectations. They offered hope, but only the kind that moved in inches, not miles. Daniel nodded through it all, but his mind kept drifting back, to the boy outside, to that unwavering voice. Hours later, they emerged again into the cold. Daniel saw the boy still sitting there, still drawing in his notebook. Against his better judgment, he walked over. "Why did you say that?" Daniel asked. Caleb looked up, unblinking. "My mom was a physical therapist," he said. "She taught me everything she knew. The body remembers, even when it forgets." He didn't ask for money. He didn't hand out a flyer. He simply offered an hour of his time. "1 hour," Caleb said. "I'll show you what I mean." Daniel almost laughed. It was ridiculous. This kid, this cardboard box, this offer. But there was something in Caleb's eyes. Not arrogance, not pity, just quiet belief. Finally, Daniel sighed. Fine. 1 hour. Tomorrow. They agreed to meet at Riverside Park noon. The next day, Caleb was already there when Daniel arrived. He had laid out a towel, a tennis ball, a jar of cocoa butter, and a warm rice pack. Tools, not toys. Daniel wheeled Maya over, his skepticism still intact. Caleb knelt in front of her, speaking in a soft, even voice. Not to Daniel, but to her. He warmed her legs with the rice pack, gently rubbed cocoa butter into her skin, and moved her limbs with slow, practiced motions. This warms the muscles, he explained. This rotation tells the joints to stay awake. This ball, it reminds the nerves they still have work to do. Maya didn't say much, but Caleb kept asking simple questions about her favorite colors, her favorite games, until, reluctantly, she began to answer. By the end of the hour, Maya whispered something unexpected. I feel something. She touched her leg. Like pressure. It wasn't a miracle. Her legs hadn't moved. But she was smiling. A small, quiet smile Daniel hadn't seen in months. Caleb nodded, as if he'd expected it. It will take time, but it will come. Daniel didn't want to believe him, but against his will, he agreed to meet again. And so it began. Every Sunday, rain or shine, the three of them met in that same park. Caleb introduced resistance bands, simple toe-flexing exercises, and heel presses. Daniel learned the routines too, helping his daughter through them during the week. Then came the hard day. Maya arrived frowning, refusing to look at either of them. I'm tired of trying, she said. It's not working. Caleb knelt in front of her. His voice didn't waver. I know it's hard. I know you're tired. But if you stop now, your body will forget more. You'll lose what you've worked for. We can rest tomorrow, but today we try. For a long moment, she stared at him, stubborn. Then, with a sigh, she agreed. And that day, after weeks of stillness, Maya slid her right foot forward. Just a little, just once. But Daniel felt something in his chest break open. Hope. Real hope. That night, after tucking Maya into bed, Daniel sat at his computer and searched for Caleb Rivers. He found almost nothing. Just a few old community clinic newsletters with photos of Caleb and his mother, Monique Rivers, smiling beside patients. No current address. No school enrollment. No guardian's name. It was as if Caleb lived between the cracks of a world. But every Sunday, without fail, he showed up. Coat too big, boots taped to the seams, that battered notebook under his arm. And with each visit, Maya's legs grew stronger. One evening, Daniel made a decision. Caleb, he said, you don't have to stay out there anymore. Come stay with us. The boy hesitated, eyes flickering. Then, slowly, he nodded. A week later, he arrived with a backpack and a rolled-up blanket. And just like that, the Harpers became 3. The days after their first meeting felt different for Daniel. He still woke up before dawn, still brewed the same black coffee, still carried the same worries. But now, there was something new woven into his days. Hope. Caleb's instructions were simple. Nothing like the complex regimens the hospital therapists had suggested before. Warm compresses in the morning, gentle stretches in the afternoon, short walks in the evening, no matter how slow. And the most important rule, never focus on what you can't do, only on what you can. At first, Maya could only take a single step before her leg trembled. Some days, she couldn't even manage that. But Caleb never let her feel like those were failures. "One step is still more than none," he would say with that quiet smile of his. "And every step teaches your body to remember." And slowly, her steps multiplied. By the second week, other parents began bringing their children to Riverside Park. Word of Maya's progress spread in whispers, hope traveling faster than doubt. Caleb welcomed them all. A boy recovering from a broken hip. A girl learning to balance after a spinal injury. A toddler whose legs had been in casts for months. The park, once silent in the mornings, began to fill with cautious laughter, encouragement, and the shuffle of determined little feet. Parents shared stories over thermoses of coffee, while Caleb moved from child to child, explaining, demonstrating, encouraging. Daniel often caught himself just watching him. How could a boy with so little give so much? On a bright Sunday morning, something remarkable happened. The winter air was crisp, but the sky was clear. Maya stood at one end of the park path, her father on the other. Caleb stood beside her, holding her elbow lightly, his voice calm and steady. "You're ready," he said. She shook her head nervously. Her lips trembled. "What if I fall?" Caleb knelt to meet her eyes. "Then I'll be right here to help you stand again." Her father's voice carried from across the path. "I'm right here, baby girl. Just try." Maya took her first step, then another. The winter wind caught her hair as she moved forward, slowly, carefully, but without stopping. Caleb walked beside her, never rushing, never pulling. And then, with 10 more steps, she was in her father's arms. Daniel laughed through tears, holding her as if he'd never let go again. His coat smelled faintly of coffee, and his shoulders shook as he whispered, "You did it, Maya. You really did it." The small crowd clapped and cheered. A little boy nearby shouted, "She walked. She walked." Caleb just smiled and stepped back, letting the moment belong to them. Daniel turned to him, his voice breaking. "I don't know how to thank you." "You already did," Caleb said simply, nodding toward Maya. "Just keep walking." From that day forward, the park became more than just a meeting place. Every Sunday, families came together, not just to heal bodies, but to heal hearts. Parents swapped recipes and life stories. Children, once hesitant to move, played gentle games together. Volunteers brought snacks, folding chairs, even blankets for the colder mornings. Caleb was there every week, his red beanie pulled low, his duct-taped boots crunching on the gravel. He never asked for payment, never sought attention. And yet, in the quiet way that only true kindness works, he had become the heart of something bigger than himself. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, Daniel stood watching Maya help another child stretch. Caleb was sitting cross-legged nearby, sipping cocoa from a paper cup. "You changed our lives," Daniel said quietly. Caleb looked at him for a long moment. "That's what my mom would have done." Daniel didn't ask more. He didn't need to. As summer came, the grass grew greener, and the laughter in the park grew louder. Maya could now walk short distances without help, her steps steady and sure. And each time she did, Daniel's heart swelled, not just with pride, but with gratitude, because now he knew. Hope wasn't something you waited for. It was something you built, one small, determined step at a time. Sometimes, the greatest healers are not doctors in white coats, but strangers in worn-out shoes. Caleb had no fancy titles, no medical degrees, just patience, kindness, and a belief that broken things can be mended. In helping Maya walk again, he gave her family something far more precious than movement. He gave them back their hope. And in the quiet corners of our lives, perhaps that's all any of us can really do. Take someone's hand and walk with them toward tomorrow.